Well, very good morning, everyone. It's George Bayruthi from FS Securities, giving you the market report for Monday, the 11th of July, 2022. And by the way, these are our details if you want to be in touch with us. And I'll put these details later on so you can copy them down. Let's go and see what happened over the last 3 weeks, with including the close on Saturday morning or on Friday night, our time for the local markets. Well, on Saturday morning, we've seen the market in the US over 1 week, that is actually over the full week, was up 240 points or 241 points, and the Nasdaq was up 4.6%. But put 3 weeks together and see what happened to the Dow, we can see that it was nearly up 5% over 3 weeks. And the Nasdaq up nearly 9.3%, and the S&P 500 up 6.1%. So you can see that we have now maybe a small reversal of the correction we've seen previously, because if you looked at the previous 3 weeks, in other words, if you go back 7 days and you look at the previous 3 weeks, we find that the American market was down slightly. All right, well, what happened to our market? Over the last 3 weeks, we're up 3.1%, so that's a good sign. And the futures this morning indicating that I think this is not exactly correct. I think overnight there is 20 points expectation. The future showing that the market most likely will open 20 points higher. Gold, $100 down, almost $100 down, 5.3% over the last 3 weeks. Silver down nearly 11%. Copper, the economic barometer that drives the economy around the world. You need copper in almost everything you do in industry. It was down nearly 15%. So are we heading for a recession? It looks like it. And you look at all the other commodities, they're all down. And the Australian dollar against the US is down 2.6%, trading at 68.6 US cents. Against the euro, unchanged over 3 weeks. Against the British pound, almost unchanged as well. However, if you look at over the last 4 days, that is from Tuesday night till Friday night or Saturday morning in the American market, we find that the market was up 240 points over the last 4 days, and the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, also positive. Our market, we were up 65 points over the last 4 days, which is a very good sign. And as I mentioned earlier, the futures this morning indicating that most likely the market will open 20 points higher at the start of trading. Gold, $60 down over the last 4 days. So you can see most of the drops, the night, the nearly $100, most of it happened the last 4 days. Okay, now let's go further and see what's going on. The advance and decline. The last 2 days, you can see that the market was actually up. On Thursday last week, 36% or 37% of all the stocks advanced and 26% declined. On Friday, 46% of all the stocks advanced and only 17% declined, or 17.8%. And the volume still much lower than previous days when we've had major correction around here. If you look at the big picture, these are all weeklies. We put 5 days together and we find the red, which is the decline, have actually been more prominent than the blues. The only blue that has been encouraging is the last week. The last 5 days we've seen the advances exceeding the declines. Well, let's see what happens this morning. But now I'm going to put the chart for our market and the US market, and we see what we can actually pick up from that. All right, here I'm going to put the XJO, that's the ASX 200, and that's actually the daily. You can see the last 5 days we've seen more green than red, and previously also we had 3 weeks ago we had very nice positive movement. Indicators on the daily chart, this is daily chart. The stochastic is bullish. The stochastic is above the moving average of the stochastic, which is bullish. The parabolic stop and reverse, these dots are below the candles, and that is actually positive. If they are above, that's negative, below, positive. On the long term, are we seeing the end of the correction? The answer is no. Why? Because I got here the 200-day moving average, the black thick line, is above the 100-day moving average, the purple, and the 50-day moving average below both, the 100 and the 200. That in my book, according to my analysis, is long-term expected to be on the bearish trend. All right, now have a look at the weekly as well, and we find the weekly. So the daily was showing that in the short term we are bullish. However, at the long term, the weekly, the parabolic stop and reverse happen to be above the candles. That's bearish. That's weekly chart. And the stochastic has spent some time here below that line, which is a 25% in the stochastic, and that is actually bearish. It's trying to protrude above that line. Again, by the way, for some of you may not understand what I'm saying. However, we run courses, and the courses will teach you how to look at charts and pick up signals that will help you to make the good decision in going in or going out or going sideways. Otherwise, you may be shooting from the hip, and most people that I have been coming across as client and ex-clients, they burn their fingers because they read something in the paper and they don't check it out. Well, you can still read things in the paper, in the magazines, but you can always go back and see the trend, whether it's going down, 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 or like in here, for instance, we have some positive sentiment. And you always look at the 5 minutes, the daily, the weekly, and of course we've got also the monthly. So that helps you to determine the long term, the medium term, and the short term decisions. All right, okay, let's move forward. Let's have a look at oh, by the way, before I go on to that, I want to show you that our portfolio, we've actually been trading for our clients, and we've actually been showing our results. I'm trying to get to my results. Sorry, I must have closed. I'll come back to it in a minute. All right. Let's have a look at the stocks that have a reasonable volume. What we've got here, that's the daily, and we see that for the mid cap, by the way, there was nothing in the top 50 that have shown volume in excess of the moving average. What I mean by that, we look at the last 50 days and we work out the volume each day, and we compute the moving average over the last 50 days in volume. And for this company, Austal Limited, over 50 days, the moving average volume, daily moving average, is 1.5 million or 1.6 million. And on Friday, we've seen 2.2 million traded. and the price went up by 2.5%. And look at the fair value. The fair value, we've got 27% fair value above the last price. So we really want to have a look at this company, ASB. We might even trade it for the aggressive. When we look for something on the top 50, that's actually conservative. And when we trade for the mid cap, that's actually usually for the aggressive. And we always compare all our analysis. Here in this particular case, we look at volume. When the volume exceeds the moving average, first of all, we look at the fair value. And you can see here, a company called Daba Corporation was trading on Friday at 95 cents. The price went up by nearly 20%. And the volume was 1.4 times the moving average, or 136% above the moving average. And the fair value is $2.29. We will review that fair value if it hasn't changed since we computed it. Fair value, by the way, what we do, we use some of the models we've learned in the MBA at the university, where we actually project the earning and the revenue for the next 10 years, and then we discount them to today's dollar. We take into consideration the expected return per annum. We look at the inflation rate, we look at the interest rate, we look at all of these, and then we discount all these revenue and earning into today's value, today's dollar, and then we work out the price, the fair value for that particular stock, and compare it with the latest price. And if the latest price is below the fair value, we are very keen to look into it further. All right, by the way, again, we run courses and we teach people how to trade and how to look at various signals. If you want to do that, there is our information here. If you're ringing from overseas, it's 61, that's the country code, 61. You don't need the 0. 61 411 259526. For local people, you need the 0, you don't need the country code, 0411 259526. Or you can write to me, George at FS Securities. FS stands for full service. George at FS Securities, plural, fssecurities.com.au. Okay, finally, I'm going to show you what the most active stocks on Friday. Pilbara Minerals was up 6.8%, and the fair value is 12% higher than the last price. May we look into it? Whitehaven was up 6.3%, Alchem 5.2%, Alumina 5.2%, and so on. And we always compare these rises because they're active. There must be a reason why the price went up. Look at the fair value, and if the fair value is above the last price, we look into it further. And by the way, if you want more information and you want a copy of this presentation, all you have to do is communicate with us. There again, this is our contact number. And if you're in from overseas, 61 is the country code. You don't need the 0. And you can write an email to me, George at fssecurities.com.au. Happy trading, and hopefully you make some money.